that you're fighting for us, that even when we can't fight, physically, emotionally, whatever the situation may be, you fight for us. Because you've already won the battle. We already have the victory. I don't fight for victory, I fight from victory. I don't fight in hopes that I'll win. I fight because I've already won. Father, this morning, I thank you that there are some walls that are falling. I thank you that there are some walls in the lives of some individuals here that are beginning to crumble this morning. I thank you that there are some walls around this region that are falling this morning. I thank you that there are some walls even between denominations that are crumbling. And that we're going to begin to see a progressive movement of people in the kingdom acting like they're from the same kingdom. Acting like we're actually here to work together. And as we step into that, that's how we take a region. That's how we win the battle. So Father, I thank you for a spirit of unity that's coming over this entire region, that's coming over this county, because some walls are coming down. Father, may every heart be open to receive this morning. In your name I pray. Amen. I don't really know why I prayed that way initially. That was just, I didn't plan on that. But I'm going to tell you something. When these children were walking around here, were marching around here, I want to tell you something. They may not have known what they were doing. You may not have picked up on what was going on. But I'm going to tell you something, that was a prophetic act. And immediately what came to mind when I saw them walking around, it was not a distraction, so don't view it as a distraction. They, again, may not have even realized what they were doing, but what came to mind was the story of the Israelites marching around the wall. And as they did, those walls, on that seventh time when they shouted, those walls crumbled. Those children, you may not realize it, but they were marching around some of your walls this morning. That was a prophetic act on their part. And because of what they were doing, you're going to see some walls fall in your life that have been blocking you from stepping forward into something. So do not view that as, well, what are they doing? Well, that's just that's not a distraction. That was a prophetic act this morning for you and for your life. Just like the children of Israel, that childlike faith. Children have faith that we don't quite understand sometimes. I'm going to move this a little closer. Children have faith that we don't understand sometimes. As we get older, we complicate it. Because of life situations, we complicate our faith. I remember when my oldest daughter was young, she had faith for anything. She would believe if that ceiling fan was supposed to come off the wall and fly around the room, she believed that that's what it was supposed to do, and she expected it to happen. Children have faith, so these little ones that were marching around here may not have realized what they were doing, but that was a prophetic march over your life this morning, and all you need to do is receive that. Receive that and watch some walls crumble. Amen? That has nothing to do with anything I'm going to preach this morning. So, if this is your first week here for this series, the title of the series is Detours. And I'm going to just recap real quick if this is your first week here. The detours of life. We cannot avoid detours in life. Just like if you drive long enough in the natural, you cannot avoid going through your whole life driving a car somewhere and never facing a detour. I don't care whether you never leave Aroostook County. At some point, you'll face a detour. You'll face road construction where there's a stop sign and you're being rerouted. And it's the same with our life. We cannot go through life without facing detours, without getting rerouted sometimes. So it's important to know, and I explained this on the first week and last week, but some of what I'm sharing, it's spiritual, but it's practical at the same time. I'm going to give you some practical steps to help you through the detours of life. We need to know in life how to change our own flat tire. We need to know in life when our windshield washer fluid is low, how to add more. There's some things we need to know how to do, and I'm making a comparison between the natural and the spiritual here, but there's some things that we need to know on this journey of life how to handle for ourselves. We need to know some steps to take, and that's what this series is all about. It's spiritual, but it's practical. I'm going to give you some practical steps. These things are things I have learned through being in ministry, being in business, and just plain old being a Christian and being in church. These are some things I've learned through my walk that I hope will help you along your way as you face detours in life. So week 1, real quick, was plan the journey. We have to have a plan for our lives. Otherwise, if we don't have a plan, we do one of two things. Without a plan for your life, you either sit and do nothing, or you bounce all over the place. And sometimes when you bounce all over the place, you accomplish as much as sitting and doing nothing, because you get things partially done. You only complete something part way. You have a prophetic word about your future, or you know what the Bible says about your life. You know the direction to go in, but what are some steps you can take right now to move towards that direction, that destiny that you have? You've got to write those steps down. You have to make a plan. How do I get from here to there? And I related it to just like going on vacation or taking a trip. How do I get from here to there? I have to have a plan. Last week, week 2, was prepare for a route change. As we journey in life, much like going on a drive, you have to always keep in mind that there may be a change in the route that you're taking. And it's not always negative. Route changes are not always negative. In fact, I have found more often than not, when you change a route in your life, just like changing a route when you're actually driving down the road, it's more positive than negative. You change route, you have a detour, because that detour gets you around some hazards in the road. That detour takes you around the road construction, and as I shared in the weeks past, that detour may seem like you're taking a longer road to get to your destination, but you actually get there quicker because you don't end up going straight through the road construction. You don't get held up by the hazards that are in your way. So a detour actually can be positive. There may be times when they're negative, but more often than not, I've found that they're positive because they're getting us around something that we didn't know was ahead. They're going to get you to your destination quicker. We have to know in this life that there will be route changes. How we handle the route changes of life is key on how we arrive at our destination and how quick we get there. Now this week, week 3, and as you can see, my titles are all related around basically taking a road trip. So this week is at a crossroad. A crossroad is a place where two roads intersect. In the crossroads of life, it's a place where a vital decision has to be made. You're at a crossroad. You've got to decide which direction to go in. It can be a vital decision. Are there any of you here that feel like or have ever felt like you've been at a crossroad? I think we can all say that. You're either there Just like this whole series, every week, you're either there right now, you've been there, or you will be there. You cannot avoid it. There will come a time in your life where you find yourself at a crossroad where you need to make a decision of which way am I going to go. There are several examples in the Bible of being at a crossroad. You may not recognize them initially. That word crossroad isn't necessarily in the Bible. It doesn't say Noah was at a crossroad. But if you read the stories, you will find that there are several examples where people were at a crossroad and they had to make a decision. We need some crossroad faith. What does that mean? Sometimes when you're at a crossroad, you need to make a decision and have faith. And I want you to catch this, because I'm going to say this a couple times. Have faith not so much in the direction you choose, but faith in the destination you are heading towards. Not as much faith in the direction you choose as faith in the destination you are going towards. And I will explain, I'll tap into that a little more in a few minutes. In the natural, when I'm at a crossroad, I may have to pick a direction based on my best guess, based on common sense, based on a sense of direction. Now, if you have no sense of direction in the natural and you get at a crossroad, that might be a problem. I always tease my wife because she has no sense of direction. We could stay in a hotel for a week, and every time we walk out, she will turn the opposite way of the elevator. It doesn't matter. So I always have to pick on her about that. But in the natural, if you have no sense of direction, that may be difficult. But if you have a sense of direction, you may have to pick a road based on, okay, I think this is going to get me where I need to go. Most roads don't dead end. So eventually I'll get somewhere. I'll get back on track, maybe hooked into another road that leads to another road. A very small percentage of roads actually end at a dead end. God does not place dead ends in your life. There are no dead end roads in your life. I know many of us think that there are. We think that we can do something so horrible that there'll be a dead end, meaning no further. You're not going, this is over. This is done. But it doesn't matter how bad you mess up. It doesn't matter how wrong the road may be that you choose to go down. God will not put a dead end there. He may put a roadblock there so that you change your direction, so you can't keep going down that road. But He will not dead end your life to the point that you are done, it's over. This is why I said a few minutes ago, I need to have more faith in my destination than in the road I take to get there. I have to know that I'm not always going to make the right decisions. I am human, you are human. I don't care how spiritual you are. I don't care how in tune you are with God. There are times we just won't make the right decision. It's going to happen. But I have more faith in my destination that I'm heading towards than in that last minute decision I may make. What I have faith and confidence in is that I serve a God who knows my destination and He knows my heart to do right and to get to the right place, and He will get me back on track if I do get off. I need to have some crossroad faith. Hebrews 11, if you want to turn there, I got a couple passages. Hebrews chapter 11, I'm going to read first verses 8 through 10. Hebrews 11, 8 through 10, and I'm reading this out of the Message version. By an act of faith, Abraham said yes to God's call to travel to an unknown place that would become his home. When he left, he had no idea where he was going. Let me stop real quick. That does not mean that he had no clue of his destination. What that is saying is he knew the city he was traveling to, but he wasn't familiar with it. Okay, so some people will take this scripture and say, well, it says Abraham had no clue where he was going, so I can just run wherever and have no clue where I'm going. That's not what that means. What it really means there is he knew the city he was traveling to, but he was not familiar with it. It was unfamiliar territory. Verse 9, by an act of faith he lived in the country promised him, lived as a stranger camping in tents. Isaac and Jacob did the same, living under the same promise. Abraham did it by keeping his eye on an unseen city with real eternal foundations, the city designed and built by God. So God had told Abraham to leave Ur, but didn't tell him where to go at first. Abraham didn't know exactly where he was going or how he was going to get there. Most people wouldn't have done that. Abraham was a man of faith. He had some crossroad faith. Don't think for a minute that Abraham didn't face a crossroad on his journey where he had to make a decision of which way he was going to go. I believe he probably faced several crossroads on his journey to that land he was going to, and he had to make a vital decision on which way I'm going to go. I believe we don't read much about those crossroads because the destination was more important than the direction he took at the time. I believe his faith wasn't in the direction. His faith was in his destination that he was heading towards. If we look at one verse above verse 8, Hebrews 11:7. By faith, Noah built a ship in the middle of dry land. He was warned about something he couldn't see and acted on what he was told. The result, his family was saved. Don't think for a minute that Noah didn't have some crossroad decisions to make while he was viewed as a crazy man building a boat with no rain. I'm sure he had some crossroad vital decisions he had to make along the way, but I believe his faith was more in the destination than the minute-by-minute decisions he had to make in the midst of controversy. I'm sure when he was building that boat, he had to make some decision. How am I going to build this? What is that going to look like? How is this going to work? But he was more focused on, I just need to make a decision because I've got a destination that I need to get to by a certain time. So he had more faith in the destination than he did the last minute decision he had to make. It's the same as above. The destination was more important than all of those quick decisions he had to make. When we're at a crossroad, sometimes we may need to ask for directions. Jeremiah 6:16 says, this is what the Lord says, stop at the crossroads and look around. Ask for the old godly way and walk in it. Travel its path and you will find rest for your souls. The key in this is when you find yourself at a crossroad, stop and ask for directions. Ask for some help. At the end of your life, no one will talk about all the crossroad decisions you made. They will talk about the destination you arrived at. At the end of my life, no one will stand at my funeral and talk about all of the crossroad decisions that Steve Young had to make. They will stand and talk about the destination that I arrived at. Your destination, and don't get me wrong, the decisions you make are important and you need to have faith in the decisions you make. But you need to have more faith in the destination God is pointing you to. He will get you on the right track. Ask God for direction. Ask others that you trust in for direction. I shared it last week and I'll say it again. Be careful who you ask for direction. Make sure you have a certain group of people that you trust when you ask. Don't just ask anybody for direction about your life, because that'll keep you running in circles too. Because you'll get 42 different answers as to what it is you're supposed to do. Have a select few people that you can tap into when you find yourself at a crossroad in life, that you can say, I need some help. I need some guidance. I'm at a crossroad and I need to make a decision. What do you think? Find those you trust and that you know have your best interest in mind, not theirs. They have your best interest in mind. I have, for my ministry, Stevens Gate Ministries, I have an advisory council. A group of people that I go to. Why? Just for this reason that I'm talking about right now. It's people I'm accountable to, but not just that. It's people I trust. Lois is one of them. She's on the advisory council. Why? Because my wife and I have a relationship with Lois. I know Lois has my best interest in mind. She has our best interest in mind. And I know she'll be honest with me. I know she'll tell, even if there's a time she has an open door, everybody on my advisory council has an open door to speak into my life, even if I don't ask them for it. Why do I do that? Because I trust them. I know that they're more concerned about me and my destination than they are it being some sort of advantage to them. I don't reach out to them often. I don't consume their time. I don't have a meeting every month. I've never had a meeting, actually. But it's people that I trust, that I have a relationship with, that know me, I know them, and they know my calling. They know what my wife and I are called to do. So that I can reach out to them, and I know that I'll get godly wisdom that has no motive behind it at all. They're my Crossroad team. When I face a crossroad, they're people I can go to and say, okay, I need some help here. I need some guidance here. If you come to a crossroad in the natural when you're traveling, do you try to find a stranger to ask for directions? No. You don't travel somewhere and you wind up at a crossroad or you lose your direction. You don't go look and say, are you from around here? Oh no, good, let me ask you for directions. You find somebody that's familiar with the area that you're in, and you ask them for directions. Why? Because they know the area. They know how to get you back on track. It's the same with our life. When I find myself at a crossroad, I find somebody that I have a relationship with that I know has been on this same road that I'm on right now. They may have been going to a different destination, but they've been where I'm at right now. That's where the wisdom comes in, because they can say, this may be a little different, but I've been where you're at. Let me give you a little bit of guidance and a little bit of direction. Does that make sense? I need to find somebody who's familiar with the road I'm on. Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, purposes are disappointed, but in the multitude of counselors, they are established. The NLT version says, plans go wrong for lack of advice, but many advisors bring success. You need people in your life that become those multitude of counselors that you can lean on for direction. Isaiah 30:21 says, your own ears will hear him. Right behind you a voice will say, this is the way you should go, whether to the right or to the left. As you are in tune with the Holy Spirit, you will hear direction. He will tell you, turn right, turn left, go straight, put the brakes on and stop for a minute. He will tell you what direction to go in. And the others that you seek for direction will bring confirmation to that. You should already have an idea of, when you're at a crossroad, which direction you're supposed to go to. You should kind of already know that based on the fact that maybe you've prayed about it, you've spent some time with God about it, which way am I supposed to go? And the others that you ask will bring that confirmation to you. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Now I know this is right, because this person has confirmed that. So what about right now? What about right now? You're at a crossroad, you're not really sure which way to go. You feel like you can't hear God. No one is giving you direction. Now what? Have you ever been there? This is great. That's awesome what you're telling me. But I can't hear God right now, and I have nobody to ask for directions. There's not a soul around. I'm at a crossroad in the middle of the desert where nothing else is around, and I can't seem to hear God. If you've been here the past 2 weeks, you know what I'm going to tell you. Go back to week 1. You need to go back to your plan. What does that plan for your life say? Refer back. Just like if you're on a road trip and it's midnight, and there's not a soul around, and you're at a crossroad, and it's dark, and you don't know which way to go. If you've made a plan mapping out your trip, you can backtrack that plan, see where you got off track, and say, okay, I need to go back to this point, and I need to hang a right. And that will get me back on track. You've got to having a plan for your life is so vital. If you do not apply week 1 and have a plan for your life, week 2 through 6 that I'm talking about will not work. None of it will work. You've got to have a plan for your life. What was your original plan? What did you originally map out on how to get to where you're going? That plan keeps you on track. It guides you on your journey so you don't get off track, or if you do get off track, it has something to refer to. If you don't have a plan, when you arrive at a crossroad, you may sit idle for a little bit of time until you get that plan or you get some direction. Nobody wants to sit idle trying to figure out which way to go. Have a plan for your life. Remember, you need more faith in your destination than you do in that road that you're currently on. The road you're currently on may not look anything like the destination you're supposed to be at. What you're doing in life right now may not look anything like what you're called to do. Let me give you an example. I'm called to be in ministry, and that's what I'm doing right now. I believe someday I'm called to be in full-time ministry, but everything I'm doing right now, other than this right here today, doesn't look anything like what I'm called to do. Other than this right here. Outside of today, everything I do, Monday through Saturday, does not look like it lines up with my calling. I'm running a business, and I'm so busy that I cannot do the ministry things that I really, 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 really want to do, because my job is keeping me so busy. Now, I could focus on that, and there's one of two ways I could go. Is I could say, well, the devil's keeping me busy, but I don't believe that's correct. Because the devil doesn't keep you busy so that you prosper. He wants to take it away from you. I believe that maybe I'm staying busy so I don't get ahead. So I don't get ahead of the plan, because I have the personality to get ahead of things a little bit. But it doesn't really make sense for someone who may be called to full-time ministry to be on the road I'm on. But you know what? I have more faith in my destination than I have in the road that I'm on right now. I know what I'm called to do. I know what my ultimate destination is. So I have more faith in that calling than in the road I'm on. I cannot focus on that road and say, well, maybe this is the wrong road. No, because I don't think it's the wrong. I have faith that I've got a destination ahead and God is calling me to that. The faith I have in the road I'm on is that it is preparing me for the destination. The road I'm traveling is getting me ready for the destination. Don't think for a minute that I don't have times of questioning and wondering. What do I do when I have those times in life when I may question, when I may wonder where I'm at in the road I'm on? I go back to the map. I go back to my plan. I go back and I look at my destination. That's where I start. I think I may have mentioned this, but some of the best advice I had received recently was go back to your original plan. Go back to that foundation of when you were first called. Go back to that and look at that again. That will get you, okay, now I see where I'm at. I can see where I'm at on this road now. It makes a little more sense. The road ahead makes some sense. Go back to that and stand firm on it. Sometimes we've got to go back to that original plan and remind ourselves of the destination we're heading towards. What I've found is there's nobody else I need to remind of my destination, because they already see it. They'll look at you and say, well, yeah, that's obvious. We can see that. But sometimes we can't see it for ourselves. We got to go back and remind ourselves of what it is we're heading towards. It's easy to get caught off track in our minds. It's easy to get off route in our head. The key in all of this is week 1. have a plan. If you're at a crossroad and you've never had a plan, I encourage you, put it in park and develop a plan. Doesn't mean you got to go back to the beginning and backtrack and start all over again. But if you're at a crossroad in your life right now and you don't have a plan for your future, you need to put it in park, shut the car off, and make a plan. Figure out where you're going to go from where you're at right now and how you're going to get there. Start from where you're at. God is in your plan. There was a minister once that told us, he was a prophetic guy, but he said, you have got to build yourself a platform for God to put you on. You have to build a platform. If you don't build a platform, God cannot put you out on that. How do I build a platform? For me personally, because I can only speak from my experience because I don't know yours, but for me personally, doing this creates a platform because this is what I'm called to do. So I'm creating a platform for God to put me out on. If I don't take any steps towards what God has for me to do, there's nothing He can do with me. There's no platform He can put me on. I can say all day long, I'm called to ministry. Well, what does that mean? Do you know how many different directions that can go in? You need to get specific. What part of ministry? Well, I'm called to start a business. Well, what does that mean? Do you know how many businesses you could start out there? You need to get specific about what that means for your life personally. And once you do that and you start taking steps towards that, you're building a platform where God says, there, now I can do something with that. I can put you out on that. Are you at a crossroad? I found this article I want to read. It's got some really good points in it. And it says this: life's crossroads create opportunity for us to choose between different options. And when we see someone embracing the moment when choices are decided upon, it can be awe-inspiring. A crossroads is about change. Choices must be made, not just when things are not working out as we had planned, but also during positive moments when we must choose to continue the course or veer off into something new. People get into crossroads even when things are great and awesome. Sometimes things can be going so good, people stop out of fear and they get veered off because the change is too much for them. When we experience an ending in a marriage, a change in careers, political upheavals, the end of child rearing, or challenges with our health, the crossroads we find ourselves facing can either inspire us to choose differently, or during these moments of change, we can paralyze ourselves with fear. Making a crossroads a moment of profound and lasting change and learning how to thrive when life's changes descend upon us can be learned. The key to weathering life's crossroads, I'm going to give you some steps. Do not settle for the normal. When our habitual response leads us to what is expected and customary, when we choose ordinary, we can expect the unremarkable. When we choose normal, you can expect to not be wowed. But when you say, I will not choose normal, I will not choose ordinary, I choose extraordinary, that's when you see the remarkable happen. Number two, so number one was do not settle for normal. Number two, do not resist. And again, I've taken this out of the article. These are not my own things that I've come up with. Attempting to control, manipulate, or force things to happen is a typical response to the fear that comes with change. Some of us will be so fearful that we refuse to make a change without understanding that even if we choose not to make a decision or action, this in itself is a choice. You're making a choice. You can choose to change, or you can choose not to change. Choosing not to change is not stopping anything. It's not halting anything. That in itself is a choice. You're going to go in one direction or another. Our learned way of coping with stress and uncertainty should be reevaluated constantly as we change in this world. Move with the changes instead of against them. Number three, trust your deepest feelings for guidance. We all know deep within ourselves what we need to do, what we know, how to think, when to trust during times of crisis. We can learn to access and trust our inner wisdom. It is personal and always available. Through this, we will know how to adjust our course, move toward our personal destiny. When we don't follow that guidance, we feel a loss of power and energy. When you know the direction you're supposed to go in, and you just have that inner knowing, you just know that this is right. And if you don't go that way, you will lose power and energy. You know when you've gone the wrong way. Number 4 is dream bigger. Change what you expect from life and then create a plan and work to cultivate the right conditions for your growth and success. Number 5, limit distractions and strive to create balance in the midst of chaos. I talked last week a little bit about balance. When we let go of our own or others' agendas and when we push away the demanding concerns of the moment, we are able to hear our own thoughts. Do less at the moments of crossroads and give yourself the gift of time. Time to be in the present moment. Respect the value of being here and now. Ask yourself, what is the one area of my life that needs more balance? And the last one, failure is just another way to start again. When we face a crossroads with fearlessness and the choice turns out to be prosperous, we are hailed as a genius or visionary. When our choice creates failure, then we are judged harshly, ridiculed, and diminished, and it has the potential to make being fearless more difficult when we face the next crossroads. We must remember that failing creates not only additional opportunities for success, but it fosters courage and determination in those of us who are brave enough to attempt it. When I'm faced with fear at life's inevitable crossroads, I have learned to let it rip and charge, no holds barred, into the abyss, if for no other reason than to see what is there. I have emerged out on the other side, bloody and battered at times, but I'm stronger for having risked, taken a stand, trusted, and believed. I want to be the person, I want you to be the person that when you face the crossroad and you're not sure, just like they said in this article, let it rip, go for it. Don't hold back. Put the gas to the floor and go for it. See what happens. If for no other reason, just to see what's ahead on that road. What's up there? It's better than just sitting idle and saying, I don't know, and going nowhere. Sometimes we have to take chance. I believe as Christians and as churches and as people coming together, whatever you want to call it, we've got to dream bigger. Aroostook County needs to dream bigger. We have the mindset of, it's always been this way, it'll always be this way, nothing will ever change, it can't be done that way. I love it when people say, you can't do that here. Really, let me try it. That's a challenge. I take that on as a challenge. If somebody says that can't be done in Aroostook County, I challenge that. I challenge that. Let's not hold back. Let's dream bigger. When you get at a crossroad, if you've got that plan in place that you can go back to, you've got people that you can talk to that'll give you wisdom, godly wisdom and advice that have your best interests at mind, a crossroad can become exciting. Maybe scary, but that can be an exciting moment where you know this turn I'm going to take is going to lead me somewhere. May not be where I thought, but have more faith in that destination you're heading towards than in that road that you're on. Have faith that the road you're on, it's going to lead you to that destination. One way or the other, you're going to get there. Choose faith over fear. Remember, Abraham continued even though he did not know where he was going. He was going to unfamiliar territory, but he still continued. You can't avoid the detours of life. So you might as well embrace them and continue moving forward. Amen? Next week, I'm going to talk about if you've used a GPS in a car, any amount of time, you've heard the word recalculating. We're going to talk a little bit about recalculating next week. I'll have Lois come up.
One of the things that resonated with me that you said was just let it rip.
Yeah.
And you know, in the vision that I had when I come out of the dirt path, I had a choice of whether to go back, which fear takes us back, or to go this way, which is continue on the journey. And as I'm sitting there listening to you, I thought, you know, for me to go flying over that valley, you know what I had to do?
Let it rip.
I let it rip. I had to push the gas really hard. And I traveled. My husband loves cars. He loves races. So the first date we ever went on, he took me out on the interstate. Now don't tell anybody, it was years ago, but 100 miles an hour, this man in this car, and he had this souped up car, you know, and he's just a ripping, and I'm hanging on for dear life thinking, what did I do? Who am I with? This man is a risk taker that's going. I just want you to know, fear will take you this way. Fear will go this way. If you go forward, let it rip and let it go, and watch and see what God's going to do.
I think about even here. How many times have you had fear, but you've got more faith in your destination?
Yes, I do. Oh, I have fear.
And you just have to take, and you're just taking steps and saying, okay, we just got to do this. We got to go for it and see what happens. And sometimes things won't work out, and you got to be okay with that. You might try something, oh, that didn't work. All right, whatever. Let's trash that. What can we do now? Yeah. That's okay. Sometimes in churches, in the Christian world, we view trying something and failure as you're done.
Right.
And it just shouldn't be that way.
No. Go for it, right? Fear has crippled so many of us way too long and stopped us up.
It's crippled the church.
From really entering in to the fullness. And I'm not talking about just the calling of your life with God, but about a whole lot of things. Like you said, career, relationships, finances, all kinds of things. Just go for it. So I just want to just pray. Do you want to close up with prayer?
Sure.
Before we let them go?
Absolutely. Father, I thank you for each and every one here. They're not here by accident today. They're here on purpose, even if they don't know it. You brought them here this morning. I pray that this morning, which comes straight from you, will resonate within them. It will settle within their heart. It will take root in their life. Father, for those that are at a crossroad this morning, give them wisdom. Show them your original plan that you have for them so that they can determine a direction. Help them to hear clearly from you and put people in their path that have no motive but will speak wisdom and guidance for them. And most of all, I pray that they will not sit at that crossroad in fear and run out of gas sitting at a stop sign, but they will put the gas to the floor and just go for it and let's see what happens. Father, I pray that each and every one here will have that spirit, that go for it spirit within them, where nothing will hold them back. Father, I thank you for what you're doing in this place, in this city. I thank you for it. In your name I pray.